All right, we're down in Vegas, so we got to do it. We got to check out the old Harbor Freight and see how it is in the store, see how much stock they got, see what's on sale. Let's get into it. All right, let's go in here. And there's the hat right up front. All right, what else we got here? All right, we're going to switch to voiceover for the rest of this because of the in-store music. I don't want to get a strike from YouTube here. But you can see, they've got a lot of stuff in store. The Voyager bags, which I love. And let's head over here back to the front of the store, see some of the other stuff they have. Of course, this being Vegas, you're going to see a lot of stuff locked up. That's just the way things are down here. We got the Avanti paint sprayer here. We got the Bauer pressure washer. It's currently on sale, saving you $50 on that. We got the U.S. General, the single drawer carts. Of course, they finally did it in white. We knew they were going to. I was just giving them a hard time about that. We got the planer right here. And look at this. We got the 22-inch throat deep scroll saw. Anyway, that's kind of a niche item. Of course, the jacks. Everyone, you got to love the jacks and all the different colors here. All the Daytona. Plenty of this stuff in stock. Let's go through the rest of the store. Of course, air tools on the right. You know how I feel about air tools. I mean, if you use them, that's great. I just think this electricity is replacing so much of that. The Fortress here, it's on sale down there. Was $160 for that. That's, I think, that 2-gallon there. That's the sweet spot when it comes to those silent air compressors. If you need to use an air compressor these days, and a lot of people, honestly, not a lot of people don't. Now, here's one where people do. This is the business end of the air compressors here. Love the lift top on this, so you can get access in there into the motor and the pistons here. Of course, this is the commercial design one for going a pickup truck bed, that kind of stuff. Looking at $2,000 on that one. I have seen sales on it, not a lot, but I have seen some sales. Now, talking about air tools, if you can go that route, see, we got the yellow there. That's a big no, but the Merlin, big thumbs up on the Merlin. Love that stuff. The old yellow stuff, this was Central Pneumatics, whatever. Here's the one that people ask me a lot about, and that is the ultrasonic cleaners. And yeah, I'm kind of iffy on them because they're not bad. Don't get me wrong, they're not bad, but I found similar, if not identical items on Amazon for like $10 less. And at that point, why not? Pelican cases, though, okay, the Apex cases. I love them. You got them in all the colors. I bought them at my store up there in Montana. All I had a choice of was black and tan. Here we got the orange. We got the I don't remember what color green that is, the muted military green, or OD green, whatever. But anyway, if you're looking for those cases, fantastic cases. We got the Icon Creeper seat down here. Then we got, of course, the Icon Creeper and the Daytona Creeper as well. Now, coming over to the jacks, you got to love these. In the high metal flake there, you got the candy apple red, you got the bright red flake, candy apple there, and of course the plum crazy purple for you Mopar guys. I admit I got a soft spot for Mopar, so I kind of tend to go that way. Let's see what else we got here. We got engine stands. Of course, we talked about those when they got released at SEMA, but here's the engine hoist. Those are the new versions of those. And of course, all the jack stands. We did a whole video on that. You can go over there and comment on that if you want to talk about the jack stands. But here's our first sign. We come over here, look at the tarps. Look at that. That's a lot of empty bins. Let's be honest. That's a lot. There's less than there is on the shelf. We got more empties than we have full. Let's keep going there. Check out my new snakes. Gotta love those. Thanks to the wife for grabbing those for me. Down this hot weather, way better than the Crocs. Let's see here. There's that Atlas mower. We were just talking about mowers. They're great equipment. My only issue with the Atlas is you got to buy everything independently, which means you got to hunt for sales. Of course, the Predator stuff, top notch. The 5000, that's the go-to RV generator. We were just at one of our old stopping grounds, the RV park over here, and like half the people have a Predator generator at this point. But let's talk pliers. And we were just talking about pliers. There's some empty shelves here. There's some empty gaps, let's be honest. But look at this. We got all the icons there. We got the pistol grip. That's a huge one. People loving that thing. But then we're just talking about Quinn. The Quinn, they're decent. They're nice. But price-wise, can you justify the difference between the Doyle, especially when it has that sale? I mean, you're looking at $8 on the Quinn for the side cutters versus basically double that for the Doyle. But when that sale comes out, 30% off anything under $20, that's when you snag that whole line of Doyles. Now, the U.S. General boxes, they're just gorgeous. Look at those colors, man. They just pop. I love the 56, probably the best bang for the buck, especially for the home gamer who probably doesn't have room for a 72. That's about, and it's big enough that having the hutch on it actually can make sense. I mean, I love them. But here's one that we always talk about to avoid, because you can buy them cheaper somewhere else unless again, it's that big sale with 20 under 30 or 30 under 20. The Harbor Freight bag, what is this thing? 89 cents. I grabbed a ton of those things. They're great for doing laundry, all sorts of stuff. Of course, they have the hats here as well. I can never have enough bags, but let's look at this. Pittsburgh, just gone. Just look how decimated the Pittsburgh rack is. And even the Icon rack has got some big gaps, some big ones. Look at this. There's a lot missing here. You know, people always talk about how stocked my store is back in Montana. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. All my stores here look great. Well, here, not so much. Now, with the Icon, there's a bit more in stock. There's still some gaps, but here we're seeing the new G2 ratchets in store. So if you've been looking for the G2s, they're out there. And here's a store that doesn't have a lot of stock, has some huge gaps, but there's still plenty of those G2 sockets, as well as some of the master sets as well. Although, again, a lot of empty shelf space there. Just some huge gaps. Now, of course, again, here's the batteries, and they're just cards on the shelf. No telling how many are actually in stock in the back room. Of course, why the cards? Well, it's Vegas, and you know how they do it in Vegas. But again, even with the cards, I'm still seeing a lot of missing stock in the Hercules line. There's more in the Bauer. Here's some Hercules stuff over here. But it seems like there is a significant lack of product in store. And I'm just shocked because my experience up to this point has been full stores, tons of stuff. You can always get what you need. But it looks like it's playing out that a lot of people were telling the store were right. There's a lot of empty spaces here on these shelves. Now, there's a lot of stuff when you get back into the miscellaneous stuff. Yeah, that's all around there. It's easy to find. How about this? The Predator. I know the big one has gone away. We're waiting to hear back what's going on. Well, there you go. You saw what the store looked like. There was a lot of stuff in stock, but there were some big gaps that we saw. And people have been complaining that a lot of their stores are not as stocked as the stores that we normally go to, which is why I tried this store. And sure enough, huge gaps. Now, as to the why, well, I know first thing people are going to go is tariffs, but that's kind of almost like too easy an answer. I mean, that increases the prices. It doesn't make it harder to get stuff, other than the fact that I have been hearing that some factories in China have been shutting down just because people have stopped buying. Has Harbor Freight stopped buying? I find a hard time to believe that. Also, a lot of the tools, like all that Icon stuff, it's all made in Taiwan, not made in China. So doesn't really explain it. Anyway, if there's any associates or anybody who has some insider information as why so many of these stores are having issues with stock, put it down in the comments. Don't say what store you work at or anything like that, okay? Keep that to yourselves. Anyway, that's all I got for you. If you like what we do, go ahead and chomp the old like button, smash that subscribe, ring the bell on the way out. You all take care, God bless, and as always, shine on.